Hello again. Today's project is going to be this box of model trains, actually. And so this is another one, kind of like the Singer sewing machine that looks really rare, so people don't throw it away. So then it's actually a lot of boxes of toy trains floating around still. So I've got here this, I think, are my trains from mid-70s. Plastic. I really don't think there's going to be much value in here. But in the attic over at my grandmother's, there's some older stuff. Metal. I don't think it's like pre-war, and it's certainly not mint. Okay, so I don't think there's going to be any incredible fortune found here. But what I would like to do is see if I can get something running, get it cleaned up, and it might be something neat to put around the Christmas tree every year, instead of just passing on another box for another 50 years. Somebody takes a look at it. All right, so let's pull it out and see what we've got here. We've got parts from 3 different sets. This doesn't have much of a wow factor. It's a wind up, and it seems to kind of want to go. I've got the 4 pieces of track to it, and I guess if you spend a lot of time cleaning and bending it back, this would go in a little circle. Yeah, not too exciting. All right, this is my kit from the 70s. It looks like that may be in working order. Okay, we've got some transformers. And then we've got another set that's older than mine from the 70s. It looks like the tracks are compatible. And we've got some cards. You know, there's not much to that. You just clean them up. What I really need is the engine. So this is a wind-up one. Has a chance of working, I guess. This is more what we're talking about, electric. I don't think this one's going anywhere. There's this one, and I don't see anything necessarily wrong with it. There's a wire loose there, but if there wasn't anything wrong with it, then why would it have been taken out like this? I don't know. So I guess what I'm going to do now is see if any of these transformers work, and then start looking at the engines. That's going to define whether I bother cleaning up any of the cards. All right, so a quick update. These powers actually are giving me good voltage. That's neat, especially for this one. It has that glowing green light. Really looks vintage. But I could not get anything to jumpstart on this one. I thought this was maybe had a pretty decent shot, but just nothing happened. And then this one, not surprisingly, I didn't really get anything out of that, but it's just a motor. I guess my next thing is to get these motors running, see if there's any life in them. I actually found that this one, the wind-up one, I have the chassis for it, and I don't have a key to wind it, but I wound the wheels backwards a little bit, and it did sort of like hold a charge in there and move the wheels a little bit. So that might be better than nothing. All right, so I'll get back to you when I get into these motors. All right, so a little bit of good news. This one from my childhood, like 80s, actually works. It's a DC engine. So I found the DC controller, and it works. So I've at least got all the necessary pieces for a running train set. I would really like to get this running instead of this, because it's just a lot cooler, older, metal. And I have the engine for it. Okay, and this looks a little complicated, but it's not going to be exactly a clock level complication. It doesn't work under AC or DC. It's built for AC, but DC should work too. So I'm going to start seeing if maybe it's just gummed up or something fixable. All right, so here we are a while later, and I'm sure that model train people have a perfect wheel puller just for trains. I didn't want any, I'm gonna use this exactly twice in my life. So I got this and it barely works. It's kind of clunky. I got one off, just in case you haven't, dealt with a wheel puller, but you could put screwdrivers under here and kind of crank on it, but you're gonna dent this thin metal and it kind of defeats the whole point of restoration here. So we get these the thin parts here, kind of like that. We center the thing up. So now we see that the wheel's been pulled away. There we go. So now I get to get out the multimeter and see if I can find the actual electrical problem. All right, so good news, I think. What I did was take a voltage source and just put one down where the brushes used to be here, one down here, and I got a pretty good buzzing and jerking. This isn't even clamped down, so I wouldn't expect it to spin. It's gonna be just all loose. But I think that's telling me that I don't have any like open circuits or burned out things in there, hopefully. I suppose anybody that knows anything about this would have like said right off the bat, maybe this is the problem. But I thought maybe that went to a lamp or something. But you see there's voltage going to this brush, but there's nothing attached to this one, so it's not gonna work. I'm gonna troubleshoot a little bit and see if this is the one that goes here, and then start putting it back together one thing at a time and see if, like for instance, when I put the brushes in, if it doesn't do anything, there's a brush problem. And we'll just put it back together slowly and see what we got. All right, I think I'm gonna take back the last thing I said. I opened this up because I really couldn't see where these wires were going because I wasn't getting any good sensible continuity. I could get ground to ground, but really nothing from the tire, the wheels or the track, the shoe here that made any sense. So I just took the whole thing where I could see everything. I proposed that this wire must have had to go to here because this one has a wire and this one doesn't. But I found that this is connected to the ground. So the current needed to go to this brush just comes from the ground. It doesn't need another wire. And also, if that's what needed to happen, two things have to be wrong. First, this had to break off of here. And then secondly, someone had to cut this wire down for no reason. So logically, I should be looking for something where only one thing is true, that this wire came off of something. Now I was looking at this, and you can obviously see there's a problem here. This is where one side of the power comes in. It's on like a plastic or Bakelite thing here so that it doesn't touch the frame. So where does that electricity get to the engine? It doesn't. So I think this wire simply attaches to the copper shoe here. So I'm gonna run with that, clean this up since I've got it open anyway. And I think that really may pull it together. What's been confusing me is there are pieces here that are plastic or Bakelite. And so you can't just say that if this is hot, it goes here. Obviously that touches the frame, so it must ground out. Like this piece here is not metal. So that's insulated. So I think I had it right. Now, why didn't it run? Maybe I just, haven't been putting it all the way back together. I've just been trying to get enough to like see some movement. And maybe I was a little too sloppy with that. I've got it back together. So I've got one polarity going here, which my theory being that this should attach to this. And then the wheels get the other polarity, which eventually get to the frame, which would be about the same as this. So let's see. Oh, look at that. All right, now that's not quite right, but I haven't re-oiled everything, and I haven't even put these nuts on, so there's probably more play here. But that tells me that none of the main coils are burned out. Well, I've pretty much put all the pieces together except for the wheels. And seems pretty reliable. Something that surprised me is that these nuts here, you really just have to kind of do them by hand tightness. If you really crank them down to like a normal sort of tightness, it all binds up the motor. I don't know if that's normal to have to tune it like that, or if it's just my thing's on its last leg. But there's that. I went super low tech on the tongue here to attach the next cart, a plastic coated paper clip, so that it wouldn't have any chance of really constantly shorting out on the copper. And then, of course, I've welded the mystery wire to the copper. That was actually a little difficult. There's a hole here, but the copper wicks the heat away so efficiently that it was hard to do the soldering, but I think I got it. So now I'm gonna put the wheels back on, get those cleaned up, and then it should be a fully functioning motor. Just put the shell back on and tackle the tracks. So I think I was speeding a little bit in putting these wheels back on, because I just kind of pushed through it and it wasn't even close to running on its own. So I kind of took everything apart separately, and the motor with nothing attached to it runs. I put the center gear on, it runs. I put one wheel on with the gear, but not the other side, it runs. Used a vice grip to get these pushed together, and it runs, and did the same for the other wheel. So I think I was just rushing a little too much because it works now. There's some bushings in here that have a slot, and it really needs to fit in correctly. Maybe that was it, but it seems to run. Oops, that's not the way you do it. It's got to go here. Okay, it wants to go this way. I want to show you something. Power on, off, power on, off. Every time I stop it, it switches direction. Maybe that may be the way it's supposed to be. I know this is a solenoid here that switches direction. Oh, all right, see you later. Of just dipping the tracks in diluted cleaning vinegar and leave them 2 hours overnight, whatever. And that seemed to do pretty well. Let me show you. So these are some of the ones that I've dipped, okay? These are the ones that I cleaned manually, but they weren't really making a good connection. So it looks like a pretty good improvement to me. Not like new, but that's fine, that's fine. So let's see what the train can do on several tracks downrange. Oh, also I did figure out that switching directions, that is how it works. Especially these were made for AC mostly, so how would you change direction with the power source with AC? It's just when the power goes to 0 and comes back up, a little toggle in here switches the direction. So that's a clever way of doing it. All right, I'm currently on DC, but I found when I switched to AC, it actually runs stronger, which is awesome because I really, in the end, I want to use this guy. It looks so much cooler. But right now I'm using the newer one just to take one less variable in the equation. All right, so stop it. Should. Okay, it's working. I tried to use the AC on here and it does work, but I can't stop it because this AC is just for accessories. So it doesn't change with the power setting. This one will, and that'll be great. So now I'm gonna finish cleaning up the last of the tracks, and then I gotta see if I actually have enough stuff to actually make a full track. I also have these compatible tracks. They came with from the 70s, these plastic guys. Where's this guy. And this, I confirm this works, so that's neat, but not nearly as neat as something from the 50s. or earlier. The only problem with these is that the base on them is a little shorter, so it requires a little, it's not exactly just a plug and play. All right, talk to you later. This is how the clip goes on, so as not to short out. And it seems odd to me that they would make it to where it would very naturally look like it clips in such a way that you would have a dead short, but anyway, that's how it goes. Additionally, I bought a few new tracks. I could not get the engine to go all the way around once. It was just, everything was kind of jumpy. You know, what I did is I had a mixture of my tracks from the 70s and the old ones here, and they're the same size and the pins fit, but being different heights and different quality, it seemed like that was probably my problem. So I ordered a few new straight ones and a few used curved ones that are the same style as the older ones, and that seemed to help me out quite a bit. Now, I was reluctant to do that because the whole point here is to open this box of family treasures and see if I can get this thing actually working. It's not to basically replace everything with a train set that somebody else owned. You know, in other words, if I didn't have this box, if this box hadn't been hanging around for 80 years, I would not, at this current time, think to myself that I need to go buy a bunch of model train parts and have a set for Christmas. But I really just replaced 4 or 5, and I can live with that to make a complete set here. Also, this, I really love the look of it, the way it glows, but even at the lowest power setting, the engine that I repaired will want to run, which is problematic because when it comes off track and you're trying to put it back on and it starts to try and take off on you, I found that this one, when you go to 0, it stops moving. It's pretty much 0. So that's more effective, even though it doesn't look as awesome. I also found that, I guess I figured if you had the right parts, you set it up and it runs. But I put the engine on, you got to run it around, adjust the tracks just right. Then you put the case on the engine, and now something will be wrong with that. You really have to tweak that, get everything just right. Then you put on a cart, and then that'll derail, and you've got to figure out exactly the spots on that it keeps derailing. The point there being, I guess if you're a hobbyist, you already knew that, and that's part of the hobby, is to get it to continually run indefinitely. Probably part of the appeal of it. It's not just a toy that you buy, plug in, and turn on. What else? I guess what I'll do is I'll set this up and show it to you running, and then we'll do an inventory of what we've got here, and I'll be ready to pack this up until Christmas. All right, so here's the final inventory. I've got this thing. I'm not going to do much with this. It wants to run. I think I could fix it, but I'm not going to find that very rewarding. The track is kind of bent, and what's it really do after all? So I don't know if I'll eBay that or just pass it along. All right, this is my set from the 70s. This works. It's all DC. These, though, I'm going to get rid of these. Maybe somebody wants this particular style out there. But I can still run this as long as I switch over to the DC transformer on the tracks, the older tracks that are better and better connection. All right, I've got this guy. It works. Unfortunately, it's a little too powerful for the train that I got running. So that's in limbo for now. Okay, we've got this. That works nicely. This is empty. Okay, so there might be somebody out there that wants this to kind of match the original style of whatever they're running with. All right, we've got this set. This is the wind-up guy, and it has the tab style. Okay, so I'm gonna try that out before we're done here. Now that I got the engine working, we'll see if it actually runs around the track. Okay, we've got this set. This, I think, is probably the nicest set. But the problem is, okay, well, so first off, it has this pole that goes into here, this hole. That makes sense that the steam engine would have a coal cart. And then it has this style of connection, as do all of these. And then lastly, we've got the standalone engine that I got running. I'm not sure if that was a tab style or this style or what, but what I'm gonna do is, of course, use this in my sort of show track for Christmases, and then just use whatever ones of these I want. I'm not gonna try and fix this. Life's too short. So maybe somebody out there will want this for 10 bucks or something, but I don't think I'll ever get to that on my to-do lists unless I get an extra couple 100 years. All right, so last thing to do is see if the wind-up guy works. So that one works surprisingly well. Really got a lot of pull there. Goes about as fast as you can go without jumping off. That's neat. Winding down. Looks like it makes it around 5 or 6 times if you really wound it up. So there we have it. I'm definitely still not an expert at this, but hey, I've got something I can run at Christmas. I got a wind-up one that's kind of neat, and then I've sorted out sort of the trash to kind of downsize this and really scratch a project off my list. So if you're out there and you can add any big insight to any of this, that'd be awesome. I'll look in the comments. See you next time.